All right then, brothers and sisters. So, I would like you all to indulge me in an adventurous journey. Actually, it's more like a study on who was the adept that the Blavatsky met. I found from lots of manuscript, and also some of the Blavatsky biographers, like for example Sylvia Cranston, it was mentioned that Blavatsky was in Java 3 times. Some to met with a very ancient person, an adept, it was said. The first was in 1853, and the second was in 1858, and the last was 1883, after the founding of the Theosophical Society. So that really piqued my interest. If there is an adept in Java, who might that person be? Since probably some of you have already visited for the last Indo-Pacific, you know that Hinduism and the old religion was widespread all over the Indonesian archipelago. Just to give a short description about Indonesia, Indonesia is consisted of more than 16,000 islands between 2 oceans, the great oceans. So it is correctly called the archipelago, or Nusantara. Nusantara, that is Nusa, that is island, and Antara, in between 2 oceans. So everybody who knows Nusantara must know a little bit about the history of Indonesia. It was said that Blavatsky met with the old adept, the ancient adept, near Borobudur. But back then, in the 19th century, Borobudur was not the Borobudur that we knew today. It was more like ruins on top of a hill. So, are you familiar with the map of Central Java? Have you been there? Let's see. Okay. The entry point is starting from Pekalongan here. This is Blavatsky point of entry. And then she went southwards, and she has to go through a mountain road, which is not more than the one that can be pulled by 2 horses or 1 horse or an ox cart. So she must have gone through this area and then meet about this area. This is the point of Borobudur. The Borobudur is on top of the hill over here near Magelang city. One more interesting story. When I searched about the location of this area, this is the only area where Buddhism is still preserved. You will find lots of Buddhist temple over there, smaller Buddhist temple, not the big ones like not the big one like Borobudur, but smaller temples. And people are still practicing a certain kind of Buddhism over there. It has somehow become like a stronghold of Buddhism in Java. But it is not like the 2 types of Buddhism that is practiced mainly in the world today, like Mahayana and Theravada. But this is the 3rd kind of Buddhism, which is Tantrayana, which is an older kind of Buddhism. The same kind of a Buddhism that was practiced, that is still practiced in Tibet, Tantrayana. So, is there any connection between the Buddhism in Java and the Buddhism in Tibet? I found out a very interesting fact afterwards. Legend has it, there is a prince from Sriwijaya. Actually, Sriwijaya, the capital of Sriwijaya, was located in another island, which is called Sumatra. Sumatra, that is another island, but is very close to Java Island. They say during the golden age of Buddhism in Sriwijaya, everybody who wanted to learn Hinduism or Buddhism should learn their Sanskrit first in Sriwijaya before they go to India. So it was like they have a special school of Sanskrit over there before they dispatch the students to learn in depth in India. And Darmakitri, Rishi Darmakitri was also known as Dharma Rakshita. The Shailendra dynasty actually built the Borobudur temple itself. So they started from the 6th century AD up till, this is not the correct one, CE, Christian era, up till the 9th century CE. And one of the major accomplishments that Darmakitri made was that he has a brilliant student called Atisha Dipamkara. It was said that Buddhism was in the decline back then. It was the 10th century. It was on the decline. But Atisha, a prince from the northern part of India, searched for Darmakitri because apparently, according to the stories that was circulated around Nalanda University, that is in northern part of India, it was said that this Rishi, Darmakitri, can hold a candle and winning a debate against the great Sankaracharya. I said, come on, man. Sankaracharya, the great Sankaracharya, somebody won an argument against him? Sankaracharya has a very cut-through logic, really. I mean, nobody can, outwit Sankaracharya. He is a very good logician. This I quote from another book, but I read also some other books, and it was mentioned that Sankaracharya lost the debate on Shunyata, on the nature of Shunyata when he was debating against Darmakitri. But some of the other legend says that it has been going on for incarnations. Well, some may disagree. Well, this is not my problem. Well, if you like to read the book, you can read it. I'm simply stating the fact. They say that Sri Sankaracharya, because he was like desperate after so many incarnations, he cannot win against Darmakitri, then he committed suicide, something like that. Of course, this is according to the Buddhists, the Nalandan Buddhists, of course. This was in the 8th century. And then Atisha, that I mentioned before, came on the 10th century and was referred by the Nalandan priests, Nalandan professors over there, to go to search for the teachings that the Buddha taught, the core teachings of that the Buddha taught, that make the speediest enlightenment possible, the method that made the speediest enlightenment possible. And he was supposed to go to Sumatra Island, to where Darmakitri resides. So then Atisha went to Sumatra to learn from Darmakitri for 12 years, become his disciple. Afterwards, he was assigned to spread Buddhism in Tibet. So here is the ties. What was practiced in Java, the Tantrayana, is the same, brought by Atisha Dipamkara. Interesting fact. When I do a further research on those the Buddhist community north of Borobudur, they always mention one thing. All the teachings are written there, set in stone. This is interesting. What stone? Of course, the giant monument. What else? Then I was like amazed. Oh my gosh. So all along, I've been looking at the mountain full, a hill full of stone, and I saw the teaching, the ancient teaching, which I have no idea about. So, is this the way, the method to the speediest way to reach enlightenment? Okay, let's see. This is what I learned afterwards. Borobudur, all of you know, is actually a giant mandala. All the stones are set concentric, and the outer parts displays the karma vibhanga. Actually, some of them are already on the ground because of the weight of the of Borobudur itself. Karma vibhanga, it can be likened to like astral plane 6 and 7, so it's like hell. And then afterwards, the Kamadhatu, that is the proper astral level, like 5, 4, 3, astral sub-level 5, 4, 3. And then afterwards, the Rupadhatu. Rupadhatu, that is the proper way when you try to transcend Kama Manas to Buddhi Manas. And Rupadhatu, that is Arupadhatu, that is the proper Buddhi. And on top of it, there is a giant stupa, which nothing is standing within it. Okay, let's take a closer look. Just a few of the, you can see the bas relief of the Borobudur. This is the lowest level, Karma Vibhanga. If you see here, over here, this is the description that where people are tortured, and the lowest realm corresponds to astral level 6 and 7. And one layer above it is the Kamadhatu. Kamadhatu is where you got entangled in the emotional level. And then afterwards, after you try to perfect all the virtues, you could become the small Buddhas over there. The small Buddhas with certain, have perfected certain perfections. Like for example, Bhumi Sparsa Mudra, the Buddha with Bhumi Sparsa Mudra is the one who holds the ground. And the one with Dhyana Mudra is the one who develops concentration. And this one with Abhaya Mudra is the one who is fearless. Okay, but actually, what is the core teaching of Darmakitri? It is very interesting. We are all entangled, not only with our minds, because our minds can give us some sort of a elusive quality. But the driving force is when we feel something that impels us to do things that created karma. This is according to the teaching. So whenever you are like more refined, probably you won't pull the strong. You won't feel the pull of the strong emotions. Like for example, anger. You just feel it and then let it pass. But what if a person, for example, is completely stuck in anger? It goes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Is there any hope for that kind of a person? Apparently, Darmakitri says that your suffering, your conditioning, is your personal gateway to liberation, he said. And what he said is, just let that emotion, let that big energy pierce the innermost chamber of your heart. Because when your heart is open, then another energy, the energy from another level, will go through your heart. And the teaching goes like, whenever you feel the intense emotion, just feel it, embrace it, own it. And afterwards, try to inhale everything in. Exhale with the antidote. So it will pass very, 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 very fast, so you won't get stuck anymore. If you do it often enough, the energy will shift. Your consciousness will shift, according to Darmakitri. That will take you to the proper Buddhimanas that is represented here by the Dharma Chakra Mudra, that is turning the wheel of Dharma. At this level, you'll be in the nirvanic bliss, Buddhic level with nirvanic bliss. And afterwards, enlightenment is very close by. Let us go back a little bit. If you see, most people, most souls, are bound to make forced pilgrimages. After all the energy is saturated, then of course automatically the consciousness will shift towards the next level until you reach the total liberation itself. But according to Darmakitri, there are other ways, much shorter ways, that is going through this level. Just watching, just observing. Somehow, it sounds familiar to me. Somehow, just by paying attention, somehow, Krishnaji's teaching come to mind. Like, attention is like fire. It burns boundaries. It burns boundaries between one level or another. It burns boundaries between you and others. It burns boundaries between the observed and the observer. So actually it's the same. Just go through this and watch everything without ignoring anything, even your own suffering, because that is your personal gateway towards liberation. Okay. I'd like to close today's talk with a quotation from The Voice of the Silence. Let not thy heaven-born birds in the sea of Maya break from the universal parent or the soul, but let the fiery power retire into the inmost chamber, the chamber of the heart and the abode of the world's mother. And thank you.